So now I'm going to walk you through the process of assembling and formatting your annotated bibliography from the work you already did in the first half of the semester. One of the students in the class said she'd be okay with me using her research as an example, so I'm going to show you what I would do with her work. I also want to modify something I said in video 2 about the final product. Yes, you can use additional sources you found before this week. So in other words, if you have more than 3 sources that you've already looked at, by all means use all the sources you found and put them into your annotated bibliography. Or if that's just too much work, go for 3, or if you want to get that 50 points, 5 or 6. One of the main functions of an annotated bibliography actually is to give you a chance to get credit for all the research you've done, even research that can't make it into the final paper. And for me personally, as I'm researching, if I have an annotated bibliography, it just gives me a sense of accomplishment, and it makes it easier for me to let go of sources that aren't really going to work for me as I make my final argument. So to get started harvesting what you've already worked on, I just want to remind you what we're looking at. In assessments and assignments, you're going to be pulling from the 3 assignments that were titled Questions Generate. So you'll just go into those assignments and pull out the text and copy and paste them into a document, and it'll end up looking something like this. This is a copy-paste out of the questions document. Here's the first source, the second, and the third. So this is really an impressive set of notes from some really hard work delving into some really difficult articles. I do know from working with this writer, and I think you might remember her presentation as well, that by the time she got to the third source, she really had found something that was interesting, whereas the first source, while interesting, was not what she ultimately decided to write about. So some of this work that you did in note-taking is not going to make it into the annotated bibliography. It's certainly not work that's wasted, because any kind of time you spend learning about something is time well spent. But I will show you a couple of places where you can pull directly out of the notes you took and the questions generated piece into the annotated bibliography, and that is the question, how does this article relate to the others you've read? That is going to also repeat in the annotated bibliography. So I highlighted that here so you can see that that's something that you'll pull out. But the annotated bibliography questions are a little bit different, so let's go over those. The purpose of the questions generated assignment was to guide you through the recursive research process in a structured way. I think we can agree that your classmate did an amazing job and really demonstrated the way the research process sparked her curiosity. The questions that guide the annotated bibliography have a different purpose. These 3 questions are intended to get you thinking about putting sources in conversation. Especially important is that you think about how you would respond to the source. What are you going to say about this research? What is interesting to you? What sounds convincing or questionable or groundbreaking? So the 3 questions are, what does this text say about happiness? If this text could talk, what would it say to your other 2 or more texts? And what would they say to it? And what do you say to this text? I hope you have a sense now of the purpose of the questions generated assignment in relation to the annotated bibliography assignment, and how to translate the notes you took while you were in the question generating phase into your bibliography now that you're in the phase of thinking about how to put your research together. In the research paper, it's going to be up to you to show how the research is all related. Now, in the final video in this series, I'll show you how to use a permalink to guide you back to the database where you found your article, and how to use the library interface to generate your citations, as well as some things you're going to have to correct because the citation generators always make mistakes, but mistakes that are easy to correct, as we will see.